We all know that there are many amazing games on Nintendo Switch 2 day one. We've been streaming a lot of them, not all of them on stream regularly over the past week. But one of the very core beliefs of the Switch 2 naysayers right now is this idea that it is a Mario Kart machine. Completely ignoring the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom updates, completely ignoring new games that are coming out, last week and next week, ignoring all the day one stuff like Rune Factory, Fast Fusion, Hitman, Fantasy Life, there's all this stuff, Street Fighter 6, there's all this stuff on the console that's available now that we're playing quite a lot of now, but the narrative has been that only Mario Kart is the only game on Switch 2. And so that has resulted in this really weird attempt at trying to subvert and destroy this game. Whether it's people trying to pretend the game doesn't look as good as Mario Kart 8, or complaining about the character roster, or doing all manner of silly things to try and dismantle this game and its how iconic it is for the Switch 2. All of these attempts have just completely fallen flat, and as a result of that, they keep piling on more. When people realize that the character roster in Mario Kart 8 was also pretty controversial, people had to move away from that angle that Mario Kart Worlds character select screen is terrible, I saw people saying that Mario Kart World didn't innovate, that it didn't do anything with the open world concept, and that's pretty demonstrably not true, simply by turning the game on and playing it, you saw people kept complaining about the open world feature itself, it doesn't add anything, completely not understanding the fact that, it is a side mode and not meant to be, the primary draw for the game, it's kind of amazing seeing the lengths people have gone to downplay this 10 out of 10 instant classic that sold millions of units and will continue to be one of the most successful game of the year. I think it's safe to say this game is awesome, but the absolute insane copes from people trying to say the game is bad after having put 30 hours into it in a week is insane. And I talked about one of them a while back, the Lonely Goomba. I called him out specifically because, this is a guy who is constantly tweeting about the game, constantly playing the game, talking about how much he likes the game, all the new features, mechanics, modes. He does all of that. And then he turns around and tries to say that 8 is better, which is obviously just a gigantic giga cope at this point. Because even if it was true, it doesn't diminish the fact that World is in of itself a great game and well worthy of your purchase, right? That was kind of my mindset when I made that video, calling out that individual for that take. But as of late, today's cope and today's seethe, coming from a wide variety of people who don't play Mario Kart, is complaining about the rubber banding mechanic. Specifically the idea that if you're further behind, you get better items. And you constantly have people acting as if that it rewards bad players, it ruins it takes away the competitive edge. It's not about driving. It's just about taking advantage of the items you are given. It's communism cart. That's kind of how they make it sound, as if oh man, we're holding back the leaders by utilizing these mechanics that have been in the series since really the very beginning. It's such a weird thing seeing people try and make Mario Kart items and how they work into a controversy. And it's gotten really, really insane. To the point where the Lonely Goomba and several other people released this statement. This is an actual core belief of among certain people, is this idea that you don't need to be in first place until the very end of the race. The idea being that if you're in first, that puts you at risk of blue shells and other items. The idea is that by staying in second place and then only taking over near the very end, you can avoid blue shells and just win automatically. Never mind the fact that, like, being in second place means that the guy in third is gonna knock you around with his items. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, like that's just my just pretty transparent take on this, is that, like, people trying to make Mario Kart look unbalanced and ridiculous are just making themselves look like completely retarded, right? Like, it just nothing about that makes any sense at all, right? It's like they expect that, like, oh, if it wasn't for the blue shell, I would be in the lead all the time, completely not understanding the fact that the blue shell stops other people from getting too far ahead as well. Like, it's just a giant cope. Like, oh, if it wasn't for that filthy blue shell, I would be in first every race. That's not how it works. Like, that's not how it works, buddy. Never has been, never will. It's just like, these people are just looking for an excuse to, like, complain about something, anything that they can, like, bitch, moan, or cry about. They'll, like, make a mountain out of an anthill. No, that entire, like, solar system out of, like, a speck of dirt on a beach somewhere in the middle of nowhere. That's the mindset of these people, is that they will seriously try and say the game is ruined because of how Mario Kart works. Like, exposing themselves as to having no idea, like, how these mechanics work or how they're implemented, or, like, what that amounts to in the game. Like, these people are straight up delusional. And that delusion is going to continue extending for the rest of the year, in which you're going to see them, like, continue to cope and seethe about, like, every single Nintendo release that comes out and becomes successful. You're going to see a lot of people complaining about Splatoon Raiders and, ignoring Shin Megami Tensei Raito. You're going to be seeing people, like, downplay Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4, and, like, doing everything they possibly can to cry about, like, these games and, like, the future of the Nintendo Switch 2 console. And, like, it's going to get even more ridiculous from here, especially now that it's become apparent that, like, the console is a huge roaring success. People like Zoog Eggs, Zoog EX, the Dynasty Warriors Twitter guy, like, he's like doing these, like, cope and seethe tweets, like, trying to pretend that the PS5 secretly outperformed the Switch 2. And it's like, this is just straight up delusional. This is so, like, out of touch with reality. And I do think that's the mentality I have, like, going into this, watching, like, how obviously successful the Switch 2 launch has been, seeing people like this bend over backwards and complain that, like, oh man, I've only put, like, 48 hours into Mario Kart World in the past 2 days. Oh, I'm not getting enough mileage out of it. It's just ridiculous. Nobody believes you. Nobody listens to you. You are just a toxic fan that puts way too much time and money into these products, and then going online to complain about them. Like, that's the reality of your situation.